Good morning. I'm going to share with you this morning an act of worship to remember those who sacrificed their lives during the Second World War. We are commemorating tomorrow VE Day, a time of celebration as well that the war finished, but also a time commemorating the many sadnesses that war brought. As chaplain to the Royal British Legion, and this stole that I'm wearing has been given to me by the Royal British Legion, I've been privileged to share with them over the last 7 years their wonderful ministry within the town of Maidenhead. And I receive a newsletter as a member of the British Legion, and that letter this week focuses on the 75 years ago, those households across Britain eagerly awaiting news that after 6 years of conflict, the war in Europe had ended. The news came on the 8th of May 1945 and was declared Victory in Europe Day. My mother Molly told me that she can remember the day spent with my grandparents Edgar and Renee in Rogerstone in South Wales as the communities came together to celebrate. However, millions of lives were lost, homes and cities had been destroyed, and many people had been displaced by war. Guy Upwood, the Assistant Director for the Royal British Legion, writes, "As our nation pulls together now in the COVID-19 crisis, making sacrifices to help others, we can look to the Second World War generation and learn from their resilience, determination, and hope for better days to come." We are asked as a nation to reflect at 11 a.m. tomorrow and pause for a 2-minute silence to remember the service and sacrifice of the Second World War generation, but also this year to reflect on the devastating impact COVID-19 has had on so many lives across the world. For those of you at All Saints, after that 11 o'clock 2-minute silence, you can play the ringing of the bells from All Saints from our website. For those of you with access to the internet, you will also be able to hear stories of those who served on a VE Day live stream following the silence, and you'll find those at the Royal British Legion website and also find them on the All Saints Church website. At 9 p.m. in the evening on BBC One, you can join Dame Vera Lynn's We'll Meet Again and sing along to mark the 75th anniversary. I have my own reflections of the Second World War through having the privilege of sharing a trip with my stepfather Reg to Normandy in 2014, the year before he died. He reminded me of the many friends he had who never returned to live the rest of their lives in freedom. As we looked over the sea from France back towards England on a beautiful sunny day before returning home by ferry, I watched Reg reflect, thinking to myself probably how he was thinking very different things from the time that he and his 2 brothers had been part of the Normandy landings back in those years before. I remember him too speaking to ladies on that trip who gave thanks for people like him who enabled freedom for their people, their families. I can also remember too speaking to ladies in Bracknell in my parish before coming to Maidenhead who never married. One told me that she fell in love and planned to marry. The gentleman never returned from war, and that was the man she loved. She never sought to find another special person in her life. I gave my mother the novel A God in Ruins at Christmas by Kate Atkinson. The author showed how the impact of war can leave people feeling devastated by loss in that excellent novel. I'm also reminded, having watched Captain Tom Moore last night, the programme on BBC One, that looked at how over a month he, through walking those laps of his substantial garden to mark his 100th birthday, had raised £32 million for the NHS. He was asked last night, how does he feel on the eve of VE Day? And he said, I have mixed feelings. I was, of course, happy to be back in Britain, having served in Burma. I was happy to celebrate peace with my family and my friends. I was happy that even people from other countries who were held prisoner were released from this time of conflict. But he said, I had mixed feelings because I had friends who were still in Burma, and I had to wait for VJ Day and that time when the war across the world and conflict had finished before he could truly feel at ease and feel that sense of peace. Our prayers then today, in time of war and now in this time of the awful pandemic, is that men and women do not die in vain. Yes, the course of life, the hopes for life may be changed. Atkinson's novel speaks on that theme. But the hope of the resurrection leads us to believe that we look forward to the kingdom of heaven. The suggested service for VE Day that I will share with you following this talk has one of the texts as the climax of the story of the prodigal son and the welcoming joy of God from Luke 15. I hope that no life is in vain and that we will all be welcomed one day into the loving arms of God. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.